So this is the Makita ADP10. It's an adapter that lets you charge LXT batteries on an XGT charger. So this side is a LXT thing. It's got the yellow connector. Takes an LXT battery, and then this side has got the terminals for an XGT battery, and that goes on the XGT charger. Now, I was wondering if what this adapter actually does. For starters, is it doing some sort of power conversion, changing the 36 volts down to 18 volts? And is it just passing the signals through from this yellow connector to these ones here? Or is it doing something else and modifying the signals internally? So let's have a look at it. Unfortunately, Makita likes to use Phillips heads rather than Torx, which is a bit annoying. It's much nicer disassembling Torx than Phillips. So there's your LXT side, the yellow connector, bunch of wires going through, and that's your power, blue and grey. Got another little Phillips in there, silver screw in the middle. There we go. Alright, so nothing really happening on the back of the board, and everything's happening on the top of the board. So definitely no power conversion going on. So the XGT charger is capable of putting out whatever voltage it wants, which is kind of what you expect. A charger is basically a power supply. And we have a little microcontroller. The yellow connector of the LXT is going through these grey wires to here, and most of that is going here through a microcontroller, and then around here. The main communication is this pin here, the TR. In charging, I figured this was like a analog signal from the battery to the charger to tell it what charging at current wants, because that voltage decreases. It's an analog signal. This is a digital signal for sure, and this I thought was ground, but someone else claimed it was other. And this is a trigger. When you put, I think, 5 volts on this, it wakes the battery up and tells it that you're connected to a tool and you should start communicating. Alright, we are back in macro mode. This little chip, I don't know if you'll be able to read it. I'll try and turn it so you can see the name, but I don't think it's going to show up. It is it's a Renesas chip, RL78 based, which is the same as what I found in the LXT batteries, but that was like an integrated microcontroller and balancer. But this one's just a microcontroller. It's an R5F106CA. This is the generic thing. You can kind of ignore most of this. So R5 just means it's Renesas, Flash, 1 is the R78. The 6 means it's got a pin count of 20, and that's correct, I counted it. The E is actually a C on this chip, so that means it has a ROM size of 32 kilobytes. And the A is the temperature guide, and the C you ignore because that's only relevant to one part. But this is also the same microcontroller that Milwaukee is using in most of their newer batteries. And by newer, I just mean their high output ones, the ones that have been out for a few years, so they switched to Renesas as well. So Makita and Milwaukee are both using RL78 based microcontrollers. The Milwaukee one was using, I think, the D for 48 kilobytes, and maybe even the E on the Forge batteries, which is 64 kilobytes, so quite large program size. Okay, so the blue wire is positive LXT positive, and brown is LXT negative. LXT negative goes through to XGT negative, there. And then it also continues up a bit here, goes through the board, and comes around here, where there's a bunch of diodes, probably snubber diodes maybe if they're going there. And then, so this grey cable is the wires from the yellow connector on the LXT battery, and then it goes down through a bunch of components, and then it goes into the microcontroller, and then out the other side through a bunch of components and into these 4 communication pins for the XGT side. So you can see a bunch of diode symbols. They haven't put any cues or anything there. It's pretty tightly packed actually, so there isn't much space for any labeling, but they'll all be biasing resistors for the transistors, probably to change the logic levels. This will be putting out probably 3.3 volts, and then it might need to boost it up to some higher level, maybe 5 volts for this one. I haven't quite looked at that yet. But when we get round to looking at the XGT and LXT communications, it'll be interesting to see what it's actually doing. So what it means is that the XGT protocol is definitely different to the LXT protocol. If they were the same or similar enough and they'd kept it, then you'd think the LXT battery would just be able to talk directly to the XGT charger, but it needs that microcontroller to translate it. It's definitely not just a level shifting thing. If it's to do with a 3.3 to 12 or 5 volt kind of thing, you don't actually need a microcontroller to do that. You can just do it with a couple of transistors. So it'll be interesting to see what's actually going on there.